the players voted Caitlin Clark as the 9th best player at her position in the WNBA.
Let's get one thing straight. The 9th best? 9th? Caitlin Clark wasn't just snubbed, she was publicly disrespected. In a league starving for viewership and attention, Clark is the reason the lights are even on right now. She's a rookie breaking records, packing arenas, and pushing WNBA merchandise into mainstream relevance. And yet, her fellow players voted her as the 9th best guard? That's not oversight, that's messaging. What we're seeing is a silent protest disguised as a player vote. Call it gatekeeping, call it jealousy, or call it the league's version of high school politics. Either way, it's personal. The WNBA has always been a tightly knit ecosystem. Clark, the media magnet, walks into their world with generational hype and immediately becomes its most recognizable figure. And that, apparently, doesn't sit well with the veterans who built their resumes without a fraction of her spotlight. Let's be real. Voting her 9th isn't about stats. It's a statement. A signal to fans, media, and the league office that popularity alone won't buy respect in the locker room. The same players who preach growth for the game just told its biggest growth engine, "You haven't earned it." This isn't just a vote, it's a warning. And Caitlin Clark heard it loud and clear.
What they're doing to Caitlin, they did to Sabrina Ionescu before Caitlin got there. Now they all pretend to love Sabrina. But like, Sabrina, there was one year where she didn't get an all-star starter because she was like she was like 2nd in fan vote. She was like 3rd in media vote. And she got, I think it was 19th in player vote. I think they voted her as the 19th best guard in the WNBA 2 seasons ago.
You want proof this isn't about performance? Look at what they did to Sabrina Ionescu. A few years ago, she was top 3 in both fan and media votes. But guess what? The players tanked her standing, voting her 19th. Sound familiar? This is a pattern. The league's inner circle punishes women who arrive with hype, especially the ones tied to NCAA stardom, ESPN deals, and big media contracts. The backlash Caitlin is getting isn't new. The system simply doesn't like when someone skips the line, even if they earned their spot with highlight reel play and cultural relevance. What's ironic is that those same players now love Sabrina, but only after she took her licks. Only after she was humbled. That's the unspoken initiation process here. You'll get our respect, they're saying, but not before we drag you through it. And Caitlin? She's the latest to walk that path. The fans might see an all-star. The media might see a phenom. But the players? They see a threat. A walking billboard. A symbol of how fast the league is changing. And how little control they have over who becomes the face of it. Sabrina went through the fire. Now it's Clark's turn.
Even with Caitlin Clark on her, like, the 56th in points per game, Caitlin Clark has more points this season than Jackie Young. Say not Jackie Young, but Natasha Cloud. Caitlin Clark has more points this season than Natasha Cloud. Natasha Cloud, I'm not joking when I say this, has played, am I right in saying she's played 8 more games than Caitlin Clark? I think she's played 8 more games than Caitlin Clark. Like, she has less points in 8 more games.
Let's talk about Natasha Cloud, ranked above Caitlin Clark by player votes. That's right. A player with fewer points, fewer wins, and worse shooting percentages, who's played almost 10 more games, somehow edged out Clark in the All-Star rankings. This isn't just an oversight, it's a joke. The numbers don't support it, and any objective analyst would tell you the same. Clark has more threes, more overall scoring impact, and better efficiency from beyond the arc, all while being double-teamed like she's Steph Curry in college. The only reason Cloud is ranked higher is because of familiarity. She's been around, she's built her network, and she fits the WNBA's mold of who's earned their stripes. But that's not how all-star rankings are supposed to work. This isn't a loyalty vote, it's a talent showcase. And if performance truly mattered, Cloud wouldn't be sniffing the top 10. It's hard to avoid the conclusion that this was political, not Democrat versus Republican, locker room politics. Cloud represents the establishment, Clark, the disruptor. And when those worlds collide, reason often takes a backseat to resentment.
Kelsey Mitchell over Caitlin Clark is kind of crazy. It is kind of crazy. Like, I don't even think Kelsey Mitchell, like, when it's all said and done, like, I think if you ask Kelsey Mitchell right now, she thinks she's the best player in the WNBA. I think when it's all said and done, I don't even think Kelsey Mitchell will put herself above Caitlin Clark.
It's hard to understate just how backwards this is. Kelsey Mitchell, a respected player but nowhere near Clark's visibility or impact this season, was voted above her. And the best part? Even Mitchell probably wouldn't agree with it. This isn't hate toward Mitchell. she's solid. But her name doesn't carry the weight, performance, or cultural gravity that Clark brings every single night. Caitlin has been tasked with reviving a dead franchise, facing the best defenders in the league, and still putting up meaningful numbers. Yet she's being treated like a role player. Mitchell and Clark are teammates. They share a locker room. They practice together. And if anyone can fairly compare the two, it's Mitchell. That's why this vote stings. It's not just a misfire. It's a misfire that sends a message. We'll elevate anyone but her. This is what happens when ego outweighs merit. The WNBA prides itself on being a league of excellence and empowerment, but the All-Star voting process reveals something more toxic, a quiet rebellion against rising stars who don't play the game the way insiders expect. If you need proof that Caitlin's presence is disruptive, look no further than her being ranked below her own teammate, someone the league never once marketed as a future face.
We know it's Chelsea Gray. This league has some obsession with Chelsea Gray. And Chelsea Gray's a bucket, don't get me wrong, but she's not a point guard. This league has some absolute weird obsession with Chelsea Gray.
Let's unpack the Chelsea Gray effect. A solid player? Absolutely. But when players are propping her up like she's a top 3 all-star lock while Jackie Young and Caitlin Clark get disrespected, that's not evaluation. That's nostalgia, favoritism, or something worse. The player vote revealed what fans have whispered for months. There's an inner circle in the WNBA, and Chelsea Gray sits comfortably inside it. It's why her name pops up higher than expected in every ranking, even when younger, more productive players are clearly outperforming her. Let's not pretend Chelsea Gray is out here leading her team every night. She's not even the primary engine anymore. Yet, in the eyes of her peers, she's still being treated like royalty. While Clark, a rookie dragging a weak roster to competitiveness, can't even get a nod. What's frightening, as the clip says, is how baked in this bias is. It's institutional. If you're in the club, you're untouchable. If you're not, good luck. And Caitlin Clark, despite being the most significant marketing gift the WNBA has ever seen, is not in the club. That makes her dangerous. And dangerous players don't get respect. They get ignored, snubbed, or punished.
Jackie Young, come back to Indiana, but guess which player the WNBA voters voted the 4th best guard, where the other 3 were 9th and lower. Kelsey Plum, 20.6, rounding up, 21.6, and well, 1.5, just put at 1.5.
Jackie Young at 12th in the player vote is pure madness, and it proves Caitlin Clark's snub wasn't a one-off. This is a systemic problem in the WNBA's voting culture. Young has been a walking bucket all season. She's consistent, elite on both ends, and arguably the most reliable piece on a team full of stars. So how does a player putting up all WNBA numbers, without missing games, get voted below teammates with less production or impact? The answer is simple. Popularity doesn't count. And worse, being too good without being a media darling or league favorite actually works against you. If Jackie Young can be ignored, anyone can be. And that's what makes Clark's 9th place guard ranking even more insulting. Voters aren't just making isolated bad calls. They're doing it over and over, to players who either threaten the old guard or don't fit the narrative. This isn't an all-star vote, it's a loyalty test. And when you connect the dots, it becomes clear. If Jackie Young can't get love despite her numbers, and Caitlin Clark can't get recognition despite her spotlight, the system is broken. And the players want it that way.
Like, there are literally 2 guards that are not in the top 10 overall that got voted above Caitlin Clark. We've got no idea who they are.
This might be the shadiest part of the whole vote. 2 mystery guards who didn't make the top 10 in any public category were somehow ranked higher than Caitlin Clark by the players. No names, no transparency, just a giant question mark. That's not just confusing, it's suspicious. Because if these players were genuinely worthy, why didn't they rank in the media or fan votes? Why aren't they part of the national conversation? Why do they only exist in the player vote shadows? This reeks of favoritism, plain and simple. Whether it's voting for teammates, friends, or legacy names, the fact that nobody can even identify these 2 better guards says everything. It's a quiet way of burying Clark's visibility without having to justify it. Just plug in names, push her down, and avoid the heat of a public snub. But now the heat's coming. Because fans are asking questions, the media is digging, and the WNBA's reputation is hanging in the balance. If the league wants credibility, it needs transparency. And this isn't it. You can't promote Clark as the face of the future and then let anonymous votes sabotage her from behind the curtain.
12th best forward. I think he's a bit of a crazy one. He's a bit of a crazy... you know what? To be fair, like, Angel Reese did... If it was done 3 games ago, Angel did have 2 of her best 3 games of the season or her 2 best games of the season in the last 3 games. So there's maybe a little bit.
Let's talk Angel Reese. She's had a strong run recently and deserves recognition. But her all-star placement compared to Caitlin Clark is another red flag in a league increasingly split along media-made lines. Reese has benefited from the same college-to-pro stardom pipeline as Clark, yet somehow she was voted higher, even though her start to the season was statistically worse and full of inconsistency. What's the difference? Simple: perceived loyalty. Reese has aligned herself with the old guard WNBA culture, embraced its values, and earned goodwill from players. Meanwhile, Clark has been positioned as the outsider, too hyped, too white, too mainstream. That's not a racial critique. It's a reality of how media narratives shape alliances and divisions in pro sports. The players aren't just voting based on numbers. They're voting on identity, allegiance, and who fits the mold. That's why Angel can have 2 good weeks and leapfrog Clark, while Caitlin gets double-teamed nightly and still lands in 9th. This isn't an anti-Reese statement. It's a pro-transparency one. If this is what meritocracy looks like in the WNBA, then fans have every right to feel like this system is rigged.
She wouldn't be practicing. She wouldn't be doing some practice trying to get back in this game. I don't think she plays. For being honest, I do not think she plays. Like, in the game preview, they don't mention anything about Caitlin Clark. They just said it's a huge opportunity. Fever. Caitlin Clark said we're going to go in there. They have a great crowd, great environment. A team that's very experienced with one another.
Now here's where it all collides. Caitlin Clark is injured, and the all-star voting happened while she was nursing a groin issue, trying to fight her way back onto the court. That makes this snub even more bitter. While other players coasted, Clark was doing partial practices, trying to ramp back up. The coaching staff debated whether she'd even play a single minute in the Commissioner's Cup game. And yet, while sidelined, she still led the fan vote. That speaks volumes. The fans see her value. The media recognizes her impact. But the players? They use the injury as ammo, pretending it justified voting her down. The same players who ignored injury-related dips from their friends suddenly became stat hawks when it came to Caitlin. She's not just playing through pain, she's playing through politics. And let's be honest, if Caitlin Clark were healthy and dominating, they'd find another reason to vote her down. Injury is just the excuse of the moment. Her return will be loud. And when she drops 25 again, the same players who called her not top 25 will be backpedaling. Hard. This wasn't just an all-star snub. This was a public execution of hype. Let's not sugarcoat it. Caitlin Clark walked into the WNBA as a media force, the biggest name in women's basketball since Diana Taurasi. She's packed arenas, sold out merchandise, and generated more headlines in 6 months than some franchises have in years. And for that, she got voted 9th. By the very people who benefit most from her presence. Make no mistake, the league loves what Caitlin does for its bottom line. But the players? Many of them see her as a threat, a spotlight stealer, a newcomer who didn't earn it the hard way. And instead of embracing her, they've turned her into a target. The result is a player vote that reads like a grudge list. Veteran loyalty over raw performance, club politics over common sense, and all of it wrapped in a fake bow of fairness. But here's the irony. They can't stop her. Caitlin Clark is going to keep hooping. She's going to keep drawing 20,000 fans while other teams play in half-empty gyms. She's going to keep trending, selling out jerseys, and breaking TV ratings. And every bucket she drops will be a reminder of what the league tried and failed to suppress. Because this isn't about whether she deserved to be an all-star. This is about whether the WNBA is ready to grow, or whether it's going to cling to its old guard while the future walks out the door. So now we ask you, the fans, was this just a vote, or was it a message? Is Caitlin Clark being hated because she's overrated, or because she's undeniable? Sound off in the comments. Who really deserved the all-star spot? And more importantly, what happens next if the league's biggest star keeps getting treated like an outsider? We'll be watching, and so will the world.